Hello. Today I'm going to talk about North Node in Gemini and Rahu in Taurus. If you have the North Node in Gemini up to 23 degrees, you will also have Rahu in Taurus in the Vedic chart, in the Indian Vedic chart. And they both are valid, both are true. Okay, so let's start. If you have the North Node in Gemini in Western astrology, you will have the South Node in Sagittarius. Now, a South Node in Sagittarius is a quite interesting combination. You think, well, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, right? So you think it could be a very lucky combination. And in some cases, that might be true. In some cases, the person might be very lucky in their early part of life. You know, they have this happy-go-lucky attitude. One thing that I read about this combination was in your past life with the Sagittarius South Node, you were probably removed from society in some way. You might have been in a monastery, because Jupiter in Vedic astrology does rule isolation. You know, being removed from society, like in the monastery, is usually a religious reason for that. So in your early childhood, usually there is a strong affinity for religion. You know, the person might be actively involved in their church or whatever. And but because the person was in his past incarnation, because they were very religious, you know, they did lead like this kind of life, but now they are born and they feel a bit helpless in this mundane world. So in early childhood, as a child, they will probably be very outgoing. You know, Sagittarius is rather outgoing and kind of a, you know, happy, cheerful sign, very funny. They will have a strong sense of humor as well. But one of the things with Sagittarius, so is your South Node, you know, the person, they lack communication skills, because the North Node is in Gemini. Gemini rules communication skills, especially communication with neighbors and siblings. In other words, communication with people eye to eye, you know, people on your same level, so to speak, people who have the same roots of you. So that's Gemini, you know, it's very local oriented, talking to people you know, talking to people on the street, you know. So that's what Gemini rules, among other things. It's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is very detached. Mercury can be very detached in your communication. Sagittarius is not. Sagittarius can be, so the negative, let's talk about the negative qualities of Sagittarius, which the person will have to let go in their lifetime. They don't have to let go of spirituality altogether, you know, or of course not, but chances are they will, so Gemini, the Gemini North Node, it can make the person very hedonistic, because they don't know the mundane world that well. They're here to learn about Gemini matters, you know. They're here to enjoy groups of friends, you know, to learn to communicate and to have friendships, like sibling-like friendships, because their Sagittarius South Node at first, you know. So the negative quality of Sagittarius will be with these people, they can brag, they can be braggarts, you know. They can blow things out of proportion. Sagittarius can be very emotionally unstable sometimes, very dramatic, you know. And worst case scenario with this Sagittarius South node is the person will take on this joker mentality. They make jokes at other people's expenses, you know, nothing is serious. They have this attitude, they exaggerate. I know people with this combination, and it can be very different, you know, but some people I know, they will exaggerate with everything they tell you, you know, everything's blown out of proportion. And worst case scenario, a person can have psychopathic traits with that, because Jupiter is expansive, right? So with this combination, the person has to let go of these they have to let go of exaggeration. I mean, if you can, you know, if you can boil it down to one sentence, the person needs to let go of exaggeration, of always wanting to be free, you know, not keeping their deals, not sticking to what has been arranged. Sometimes it can be a Peter Pan mentality with the Sagittarius working negatively. And as the person gets older, they will have these negative traits. They need to work on letting go of that, you know. If they don't, they will have problems. They can have problems at work, with themselves. You know, it's also problems with their own mental state of being, because Gemini does rule Mercury. So this is a very mind-oriented nodal axis. You know, we're not, I'll talk about the Taurus in a second, because here we go into possession and stuff like that. This is about communication. This is about seeing the detail of things, learning to listen to other people. With this, it's very important for the person to stop, you know, not to be overbearing towards others, and especially not to make judgments, like to judge too quickly. So that would be another potentially negative trait of Sagittarius, because Sagittarius sees the whole picture, right? But the negative trait here would be to judge too quickly and not listen. Gemini is like, it's very both sides, right? It's very androgynous. We need to listen to both sides here. And with the Sagittarius South node, the person, it is a fire sign, you know, the person will probably be very convinced of themselves, and they need to learn to let go of an overinflated ego, possibly, you know, and focus on how they communicate with others, and how they develop their rational mind. You know, so there can also be problems with your mental health at times, because that needs to be balanced. So don't underestimate Sagittarius. It's not always lucky, lucky, lucky. Not if your South node is there. Although you might have a very lucky start. You know, you have a positive attitude towards life. Okay, now, you also have, with this combination, until 23 degree in Gemini, you would have Rahu in Taurus and Ketu in Scorpio. So here, the Ketu in Scorpio, a person with South node in Sagittarius and Ketu in Scorpio. So one thing that you often see with people who have that is they were in the military early in life. They maybe joined the military at age 17, whenever you can, you know, because of Scorpio. And also the Sagittarius being a fire sign. If it's a guy, you know, if it's a man, he might join the military. The Scorpio has this militant touch sometimes. It can also be a person who really understands money, who really early in life understands how to make money, how to use shared resources. You know, they might even invest early in the stock market, and initially and be very successful. They can. It's not just initially. They can be very successful with money at times. And now we also have this. Let's go back to the Scorpio. Sorry, let's go. The Scorpio here. I've seen it in charts of people who where there was also abuse, there was also power struggles at home, you know, with a father or mother or whatever, or siblings, like immense power struggles with the Scorpio, the Ketu in Scorpio, and also a very early interest in sexuality. These people tend to experiment very early on, you know, the Scorpio South Node. In some cases, people have children very soon, very early in life. But it's a very sexual combination. Also, Sagittarius tends to overblow things, so it can also overblow the Scorpio energy. This could be seen potentially in the chart of a sex addict, you know. But eventually they have to let go of it, because the North Node in Taurus, they do see people with this combination, they want stability, you know, unless there's other factors that completely contradict that. But the person is seeking stability in life. I mean, the North Node in Gemini, that on one hand, it's like here and there and everywhere. They probably like traveling, you know, they will have opportunity. It's not even what you like. Your life will pull you into this direction. And with the Taurus North Node, what you will often see in terms of profession, the person might be in sales, you know, because the Gemini that's a typical sales sign, the Mercury. They need to negotiate with others. And here the Taurus, in the second half of life, the person could become wealthy. You know, they will gain more stability. They will buy their own house. They might build their own house. They will possess many things. And we don't know, you know, whatever profession. There's other things to look for in a person's horoscope for a profession. But I've seen it play out, you know, people working in sales and making lots of money with their Gemini. The opportunity that Gemini North Node gives them, because you have to learn that. So your jobs will probably involve some form of communication. You know, it could even be a person working in a call center, for example. Somebody who will work in a call center, they're very stable. The Taurus North Node, you want stability. You could be very well a stable person. You stay there, and over time you actually you know, you become wealthier, even if it was not the greatest job you started out with. But if you're loyal to a company and you know you have these Taurus qualities, there could be wealth. There will be you know, eventually there will be wealth. So Taurus is about owning stuff, and also a Taurus is also about self-worth, you know, self-esteem, your value system. It's not always money and possessions, although with a Taurus North Node, it's funny with these people, they're actually not really, in a way they're not materialistic. What I've seen, at least, you know, it's modest, but what I've seen, the person is actually not very materialistic with the Sagittarius South Node, but because of their skills, and maybe they might still be greedy, you know, and somehow they get a lot of stuff, but they're not attached to it. The Sagittarius makes you not very attached. So it's also a bit law of attraction. These are the people who attract more money and more wealth to them because they're not attached. You know, they want it, but they're not really that much attached to it. Ketu, wherever Ketu is in your chart, you become more and more detached once you get older. But here now the person is moving toward, in the second half of their life, they are moving into this area of more stability, and most likely they will settle down and buy a house later in life, not early. This is not early in life. But it depends, you know, you cannot generalize things like that. But there's also issues with values. The person will have struggles with that. You know, they will move back and forth with their worldview, or the way they value the way they assess the world around them and themselves in the world, because Taurus does have to do with your self-esteem. You know, the way you value yourself deep down. It's not even what you think. You know, everybody can think whatever, but it's what is really the undercurrent here. How do you really feel about yourself? So there's struggles with that. So the person might become very materialistic. They might move away from religion, because in this incarnation, they're actually not here. They're not here to learn to become more religious, or, I mean, you know, more spiritual, yes. But this is through the mundane world. This dharma here, you're not here to avoid the mundane world. You're not here to avoid groups of people having small talk with people. You're here to master small talk, actually. Gemini is the master of small talk, you know, and of mundane matters, talking about things that matter, you know, that's just regular stuff. What's the latest, what's the new restaurant in town, or whatever, or let's talk about some movies on Netflix or whatnot, you know. So these are the qualities they have to learn. You have to learn. They will get lots of opportunity to learn to communicate in the mundane way, and they need to learn. They will have this religious background. You know, they might even have a psychic ability. Or psychic, in some people they can heal. They might have healing abilities, but nevertheless, the Dharma goes through this Gemini energy, and then this very earthy Taurus North Node. And the Taurus North Node is also here to live in the present and to let go of any past trauma. Because, hold on. With that Scorpio South Node, whatever happened in their youth, you know, there was some kind of tension, and a lot of times this tension was produced because the kid felt like an outsider. You know, that they had friends, you know, they were liked by some people, but they felt like an outsider. They felt like they didn't fit in. It's very strange for them to be sitting in the classroom or something, and to have this experience. You know, for some reason, this person will feel awkward in their youth, being around peers. They will have problems around their peers. They might feel drawn to older people, or also in their youth with Sagittarius, since it rules foreign cultures. Another possibility would be the person has foreign parents. You know, maybe they even live in a foreign country, not the country of their own nationality, for example, or the language they speak at home. So there can be a foreign parent, and they might be bilingual. You know, they have access to foreign culture early in life. The person might be working in the travel industry. That might be the first job they do, you know, something like that. But they're here to let go of the intensity of Scorpio. They need to let go of being manipulative also here. That's a Scorpio, a negative Scorpio trait. They're here to earn their own money. They will earn their own money. They should not depend on other people's money. You know, the more they do, the more it will corrupt them, actually. The person with this combination, the person should not depend on shared resources so much, you know, because it will corrupt them. There's corruptive energy with the South Node. What else is there to say? Like I say, not all of us are here to learn to let go of materialism, to learn to become more out there, you know. With this combination, the person was born like that. They're already a bit of an oddball, and but they try to fit in. You know, there's this energy they want to fit in. You have to look at other things in the chart. You know, it's generations. This is all generational. It's like these things happen for like a year or so. Ketu and Rahu are in these signs for a year, and now of course you need to look at the house where this falls into. You know, does it fall into? Do you have this in your second house? This is very much about materialism. Do you have it in your 12th house? I know a person who's got this combination in his 12th house. Here things change a little bit, you know, because the 12th house is not materialistic. The 12th house is the moksha house. So here the Taurus is not going to be super rich or whatever, but the person will learn to feel secure with what they have. Taurus does not mean rich in that sense. Venus in Taurus rules the feeling of being saturated. It rules feelings of saturation. Now, if somebody has this in their 12th house, they will be very lazy later in life. You know, they will probably not work very much. It depends, you know. But so you really have to look at the houses, what house this falls into. So Gemini would be Gemini, Sagittarius axis. It is like third house, ninth house. You know, it's like having the south node in your ninth house. In your youth, you will travel. You will have lots of contact with foreigners. But as you get older, you have to be more in your neighborhood. You will make friends. You will have opportunity to make friends, to be part of a group in your neighborhood where you live, you know. And you will, unless you have a strong ninth house, you will not, some people will not travel at all anymore, not abroad anymore. I know people who traveled abroad with this, but now as they get older, over the age of 40, they just stay, you know, they stay within their country or state or whatever. So this is the third house, North Node, third house. As you get older, you might take small trips. You take weekend trips, but you're not going abroad so much anymore. No more larger trips abroad, you know. But life will guide you towards that. It's meant to be that way. But it varies also here. It varies. Some people, if you make a career, you know, in tourism, you have a south node in Sagittarius, and you have a career, and it is long. It's your entire life. You will still have the opportunity, but you might not want anymore. You might not want it anymore. You know, you will let go. You want to let go of the south node eventually. So this one can be a very lucky combination, but it can also be a very harsh combination because of the Sagittarius. It's very masculine. You know, the person might have to let go of toxic masculinity, whether it's a woman or a man. They might overdo it. You know, Sagittarius likes to overdo it. Okay, I hope this helped. Let me know what your experience is. Let me know if this resonated, and if this makes sense to you. Have you had similar experiences if you have this combination? Take care.